This is Dublin's Q102.
More than 100 UK top 40 hits. Selling over 40 million records and producing some of the biggest hit songs ever. This is the story of Stock Aitken and Waterman.
The sound of a generation. The story of Stock, Aitken and Waterman.
On Dublin's Q102. Once again.
Hi, I'm Johnny Bowe, and over the next hour I'm going to bring you the story of Mike Stock, Matt Aitken and Pete Waterman, and how they would write and produce some of the most successful songs of the 80s, where it all began and the path that led them to superstardom, winning awards and getting 13 number one songs. Now let's go back to the early days in 1984. Ronald Reagan was President of the United States. Frankie Goes to Hollywood were riding high in the charts with Relax, and three guys in London were forming a partnership without realising that it would pave the way for Stock Aitken and Waterman and the massive impact they would have on the music world. Their initial style was based on high-energy dance music, and one of their first early successes came in 1984 with drag queen Divine. Divine was a character actor and later would embark on a career in music, with Stock Aitken and Waterman co-producing the song You Think You're a Man with Barry Evangeli. Artists started to take note of the slick production of SAW, and Hazel Dean also began working with them. However, one of their biggest hits would be when they teamed up with Dead or Alive on the song You Spin Me Around Like a Record. Pete Waterman had said even with the success of this record, the trio were still in dire financial straits at the time. Now I'm so pleased to have Mike Stock from Stock Aitken and Waterman. Thanks for coming on, Mike. Tell us about Divine and those early days when you did production for Divine, the drag queen.
Well, yes. I mean, but he wasn't quite in the mould of Danny LaRue. He was much more risque and for a lot of the authorities, he was quite a frightening character. I met him only because Barry Evangeli, who ran a small label called Proto, had signed him to that label, and the same label that we'd had Hazel Dean eventually on. So, I was able to meet him in the studio, recorded his vocals on You Think You're a Man, and I got him to sing it quite well. But the record label didn't like it because I'd made him sound too good, and I missed the point about what he was. It was all just about shouting an ugly-sounding voice in this very glamorous, made-up man to look like a fancy woman. And that was the pantomime, and I sort of missed the pantomime of it. I produced the record.
Yeah.
And Jeff Dean wrote.
Jeff Dean, oh right, okay. But you did production with Matt, was it? Was that how it worked? Or
yeah, we did it with Matt, and we took him down to the Marquee Studios. We were formed with Pete Waterman at the time, but Pete was never in the studio with us because he was out doing the deals and signing the various acts. So that was just me and Matt in the studio.
Well, Mike, not many people will have heard Divine and You Think You're a Man. They'll remember it when they hear it now. It's a terrific song. I always remember it and I have great memories. I didn't realise it was the Stock Aitken and Waterman production. Here's Divine, You Think You're a Man, on our Stock Aitken and Waterman special, exclusive to Dublin's Q102.
Take take a giant step for you and all mankind. Then don't come back. I always gave you so much more than you deserved. Now don't come back, 'cause no one makes a fool of me. You've got a nerve to walk away. Mark the words I'm gonna say. Mister, you just made a big mistake. You think you're a man, but you're only a boy. You think you're a man, you are only a toy. You think you're a man, but you just couldn't see. You weren't man enough to satisfy me.
It's a Stock Aitken and Waterman special here on Dublin's Q102. It's the story of Stock Aitken and Waterman. I have Mike Stock with me, and thanks for staying with us, Mike. Their continued consistent successes would grab the attention of Bananarama, with Siobhan Fahey wanting to work with them and record Shocking Blues' Venus record. In 1986, the song would top the charts in the US and reach the top 10 in the UK. Bananarama would work exclusively with Stock Aitken and Waterman for years to come, scoring hit after hit with Love in the First Degree, I Can't Help It, I Heard a Rumour, and many more. And at this stage of their career, Stock Aitken and Waterman were riding a crest of a wave, and fans all over the world were liking their style and were prepared, for the most part, to part with their cash, their hard-earned cash, to buy a Stock Aitken and Waterman record. Following their early success, their style changed into a more mainstream synth-pop, usually performed by obscure artists. They would usually write the songs first, then record the music using synthesizers and drum machines, particularly the Lynn drum machine, and then bring in a singer. The Dead or Alive song, Mike, You Spin Me Around Like a Record, I've often listened to that. It's played on radio stations all over the world, on TV as well. It must have been a very difficult song to make, because the sounds in it must have been really difficult to produce. Tell me about that one.
I always sort of was crossing my fingers and hoping on every record we ever made. It wouldn't matter if it was Rick, Astley or Kylie, but we were still, we were just hoping we got it right. Dead or Alive is another example. In fact, when the record was released, we recorded it in autumn of 84, and then it wasn't released till January 85, and it went into the very low regions of the chart, around about 90 or something. Took a long time to catch on, because we were working in a world that wasn't radio friendly. I mean, You Spin Me Round is not a record you want to wake up to. But eventually radio caught up with it. And that made such slow progress up the charts until eventually going to number one. We weren't sure at any minute it was going to be a hit, but eventually... And then that went all around the world, It wasn't
easy to make that song, because even if you listen to it, there's sounds in it that you're going to say, how were they even produced? How were they...
We were fighting... Matt and I had the... we were really at the front end of when the digital world, synthesizers, etc., were starting to take over everything. And we found the biggest problem was getting the drum machine to talk to the synthesizers, talk to the bass machine, sort of thing. So that was our biggest problem, getting everything to work technically. But Matt's got a brain for that kind of thing.
Well, it's one of the biggest hits of the 80s, and it's one of the best Stock Aitken and Waterman songs, in my opinion. But we'll have a listen to it. This is Dead or Alive, and You Spin Me Around. It's our Stock Aitken and Waterman story here on Dublin's Q102. This is the Stock Aitken and Waterman Story here on Dublin's Q102, and that's You Spin Me Around Like a Record, one of the very earliest number one songs. I think it's the first number one song for Stock Aitken and Waterman. Now, it was a very busy 80s for Stock Aitken and Waterman. They were churning out the hits, hit after hit, and they were referred to as the Hit Factory, which they didn't particularly think was fair, as the trio didn't consider themselves a factory at all. SAW started to notice the production skills of Phil Harding and offered him a job to be chief engineer in the mid-80s. Soon after that song, You Spin Me Around, he would be responsible for the 12-inch mixes and club remixes. Stock Aitken and Waterman would work with Princess and Sunita and produce songs for them. Following on from their early success, the Stock Aitken and Waterman style would evolve into a more mainstream sound with the use of the Lindrum machine and extensive use of synthesizers. And it was at this point in 1987 that the T-Boy in the Office would become one of the biggest stars on the planet and give the trio their biggest hit, which to this day is a regular on radio stations. Rick Astley was a young, shy boy with an incredible voice, which didn't sound like it was coming out of his mouth. Rick's breakout album, Whenever You Need Somebody, became a massive hit, and they started to have success outside of the UK and began to garner the attention of an American audience. Never Gonna Give You Up became the highest selling single of 1987. Also in 1987 was one of the biggest hits as well for Samantha Fox, who was a page 3 girl for some of the tabloid newspapers. She was very popular, but she also had a very good voice, and she teamed up with Stock Aitken and Waterman and brought out this one.
Nothing's gonna stop me now.
Day you came, you tried to take control of me.
This is the Stock Aitken and Waterman special here on Dublin's Q102. That's Sam Fox and Nothing's Gonna Stop Me Now. Coming up in part 2 of our special, Mel and Kim will start to have success with Stock Aitken and Waterman, and Pete Waterman becomes convinced that their streetwise personalities should match the music. But with the success of Mel and Kim comes some sad news that will follow that will be devastating to everyone involved.
The sound of a generation. The story of Stock, Aitken and Waterman on Dublin's Q102.
I'm back with part 2 of our Stock Aitken and Waterman story on Dublin's Q102. Hope you're enjoying it so far. 1987 would see the introduction to the SAW camp of Mel and Kim, two feisty young women whose style and incredible vocals would give Stock Aitken and Waterman another number 1 with the song Respectable. Showing Out, FLM and That's the Way It Is would all become top 10 hits. Now, while on tour in Japan, Mel Appleby started to feel pain in her lower back, which wouldn't go away. She was confined to bed and unable to carry out her duties as a singer, and on return to the UK went to a doctor. She was diagnosed with a tumour and needed chemotherapy, ultimately withdrawing from public life. In January 1990, Mel died suddenly of pneumonia. Her sister and family were left devastated, and Stock Aitken and Waterman were saddened about her untimely death at such a young age. They were proud to have worked with her, and at that time Mel and Kim would prove to have been a special one for Stock Aitken and Waterman. Yeah, Mike, tell me about Mel and Kim. Did you know she was ill at that time?
We didn't really realise to begin with. She kept it quite quiet. We'd only done the first album with them, and we were just going on planning on what we'd do for the second album. So before we could get started on that, we were aware of the fact that she was unwell. That's a big sad moment for us because, I think she's still a teenager, wasn't she? But, there we go. That's another one. There's quite a number of them. The toll is mounting.
1987, 1988. You probably didn't have time to think too much about being in the music business. You were probably so busy. Up at what time in the morning and then finishing at what time at night, Mike?
Well, we developed a routine because I think it's the best way of doing it. Because prior to working out that, we would sometimes finish a track off and mix it overnight or go home at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you're ruined for the next 2 days. So I realised quite soon that we just put a normal working hours. It was a long shift, but I used to start in the morning. I used to get up out of the house by 9:30. I had to drive up to London to get in the studio, and then we'd start the morning around 11 o'clock, and then we go down the pub at 10 o'clock at night, and then I'd get home about 1 o'clock in the morning. That was my routine.
You never really worked with established artists. That would change in 1989 with Donna Summer and Cliff Richard joining Stock Aitken and Waterman. Did you feel more pressure working with them?
Yeah, I absolutely did. I did with Cliff, definitely. And but the thing that I found over the years, working with the really talented ones, like Cliff and Donna and Paul McCartney, who we did some work with, they were just the easiest in the studio because they didn't have anything to prove and they were so good at their job. I could chuck anything at them and they could always deliver it. The younger artists who were just striving to make it and uncertain, and perhaps some of them who weren't quite as talented as we would have liked, always struggle. You sometimes had arguments and fights and tears before bedtime. But with Donna and Cliff, it was a doddle. For me, I loved it. Nothing more anybody, if you're a writer and a record producer, what more could I want? You get a great singer in front of you.
Well, Mike, it's a fascinating insight to the world of Stock Aitken and Waterman. It's interesting to see that you worked with the likes of Paul McCartney on some of the charity records that you did. Also, the Donna Summer album that came out, Another Place, Another Time, one of my favourite albums, 10 gems of songs on that album. You can't fault it in any kind of way. And then, of course, you said you work with Cliff Richard. Heading into the late 80s, not everyone was a fan of Stock Aitken and Waterman, and satirical puppet show Spitting Image labelled the songwriting trio boring, and the Guardian newspaper described them as schlock, aimless and watered down. But the trio hit back with a hit song defending their style with the song Roadblock.
Hey, Roadblock!
And it was all heading down under for their next chapter, which would become one of their biggest successes. Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan were well-known soap stars in Australia and were garnering attention over in the UK and Ireland. And Kylie's first 13 singles reached the top 10, and her debut song, I Should Be So Lucky, spent 5 weeks at number 1. Jason Donovan would follow and have one of the biggest selling albums in 10 Good Reasons. Donovan had been Minogue's co-star in Neighbours, and his success for a time equalled hers. During this period of stock, Aitken and Waterman would work with Judas Priest. I know what you're thinking. Did I just say Judas Priest? Well, Stock Aitken and Waterman did work with them, yet those songs were never released. I'd love to hear them someday. Undoubtedly, Stock Aitken and Waterman's most successful years in the late 80s. Rick Astley, Mel and Kim, Bananarama, Hazel Dean, Sunita, Pat and Mick, Brother Beyond, Jason Donovan would all be getting into the top 10. And although most of the artists and singers that worked with Stock Aitken and Waterman were plucked from obscurity, they never really worked with established artists. But their meeting with Donna Summer would change all that, and Donna would work with the trio to help produce Another Place, Another Time, which is known to be a fan favourite, with all 10 songs on that album absolute perfection. This Time I Know It's For Real being a standout smash. 1989 would signal a change in how SAW would work. In fact, Cliff Richard had noticed them and wanted to work with them. They wrote and produced I Just Don't Have the Heart, which scored Cliff another hit, cementing him to pop folklore for having hits in the 60s, 70s and 80s. And of course, since this Stock Aitken and Waterman special, we know that he's had hits in the noughties as well. They would work on Charity Record in 1989 for Band Aid and Ferry Across the Mersey, featuring Holly Johnson, Paul McCartney and Jerry Marsden. But Donna Summer would definitely have been the biggest artist they've worked with. So let's have a listen to one of her biggest hits. This Time I Know It's For Real.
What would I have to do to get you to notice me too? Do
It's Donna Summer on our Stock Aitken and Waterman special here on Dublin's Q102. I hope you're enjoying it so far. I have to say, I'm really enjoying it. To play some of my favourite songs from Stock Aitken and Waterman is an absolute pleasure. Mike, tell me about Kylie Minogue. Is it true you got down on bended knee begging her to come back and do a second song?
It was a sort of... I had to go over... When she first came to the studio, Matt and me weren't ready for her. Didn't know she was coming, didn't know who she was. She hadn't yet made it in... The Neighbours wasn't really a big thing in the UK. So we did the first song, I Should Be So Lucky. She got back on the plane, went home. That becomes a hit. It's number one for 5 weeks. And then somebody says, well, what's the follow-up? Oh, I better go out there, but I don't think she wants to talk to us because we treated her quite rudely. So I flew out to Melbourne, met her mum and dad and her brother and sister, and spent an evening with the family and tried to sort of apologise and placate the situation. And she then got in the studio with me, and I recorded the follow-up in Melbourne, which was Got to Be Certain. That was, in March 1988, I remember.
And Mike, while you were having that success, you won Ivor Novello Awards, you won a Brit Award, and in 1988, I remember Noel Edmonds giving you this prize. Let's have a listen.
Best British record producer 1988, Stock Aitken and Waterman.
It was a massive year for Stock Aitken and Waterman, winning the Producer of the Year, and Trevor Horn providing with the prize. It wasn't the end of the awards. They would win many awards in the music business for producing records over their 37-year career. Mike Stock, Matt Aitken and Pete Waterman. Now, later on, after Stock Aitken and Waterman, Mike would work with Robson and Jerome, Jocelyn Brown, Nicky French, and more recently, The Fizz. Former members of the band Bucks Fizz. Pete Waterman went on to have great success with Steps and as a judge on Pop Idol and Pop Stars The Rival. He has a lot of love for the railways and trains and presented shows on Channel 4. Matt Aitken retired, and his musical genius and contribution will never be forgotten. More recently, Matt came out of retirement in 2015 to work with Mike on a remix of Kylie's Every Day's Like Christmas. It was a special moment which brought the band back together.
Now every day's like Christmas.
Dublin's Q102, it's our Stock Aitken and Waterman special. Every day's like Christmas. I wish it was. And that's Kylie, who reached out to Stock Aitken and Waterman in 2015 and asked them to remix her song, Every Day's Like Christmas. And what a great version. What a great bit of production it was as well from Matt Aitken and Mike Stock. Coming up in part 3, and it's our final part of our Stock Aitken and Waterman special, we'll find out about Kylie and Jason, and it'll be especially for you.
The sound of a generation. The story of Stock, Aitken and Waterman on Dublin's Q102.
It's part 3 of our Stock Aitken and Waterman story, and it's exclusive here to Dublin's Q102. Before we let you go, Mike, and thanks so much for joining us, I want to find out when you entered into the 90s, because there was a big change in the music scene. Acid House was out. I remember bands like Technotronic, Black Box, The Shaman. Did you have to change your style when you headed into the 90s?
Well, we it's a really difficult question. We did start to change our style. More's the pity, I would say, because you see, apart from the younger people growing up who wanted something a bit more, whatever they wanted, is all well and good, but there's always a new 16-year-old. There's always another generation coming before them. We shouldn't really have changed. We should have catered to the pop audience the way we had done, because the next stage up was, you mentioned Ebenezer Screws and
Ebenezer Good, yeah, and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
We're a bit kind of drug orientated, a bit dark, a bit less poppy, and a bit more club orientated in not a good sense, not a dance sense. And I found that, and then the whole industry went that way. We didn't change an awful lot, but the industry changed around us. We became out of step with that.
Yeah, and that happens. You know, it happens even with, you mentioned football teams earlier. You know, a football team can have a lot of success for a certain amount of years, and then all of a sudden things start to change, and it's just part of the way life is, I suppose, isn't it? And there's more competition around as well, also, you know.
Well, no, and also if you're Ferguson and you're managing Man United and you've won everything, you get to an age where you decide to retire. But then what happens is the industry closes round you. Everybody knows how you play. I mean, you know, Mourinho, it's happened to him. People know how you play, so they stop you.
Yeah,
that's what happened to us. We were blocked. Our avenues were closed down. And I see that in football. So, you know, is it going to be are we going for 4-4-2, or are we going to have 3 at the back, or are we going to have 5 across the middle? You know, everybody wants to change their formation. And in the end, it's only like it used to be in the 60s. You have 2 full-backs, a centre-half, and some people running up front, you know.
I know. I interviewed recently Morton Harkett of Aha, and he was telling I didn't want to ask him about Take On Me, because I've seen other interviews with him, and he kind of gets a little bit. I knew I would be going down a dark path if I asked him about it, so I left it to the end. I kind of asked him about other things, but he was telling me that the song has become bigger than the band, and usually no song is bigger than the band, but it has, and it's just become they perform it at the gigs, but it's sort of over their head now this day.
Yeah.
And you know, he says we do have other songs, you know, that is, I suppose the Rick Astley one, Never Gonna Give You Up, is a prime example of that. Do you think the song is bigger than you guys, or? I
think it is. In a way, it is, yeah. And I think, you know, I saw Rick the other day at the Albert Hall, and obviously he ends with that, and he does a bit in the middle. You know, you can't get away from it. You can't really see Kylie without her doing some of our songs with her, and so it's almost a bit. I do remember seeing years ago Roxy Music, who refused to do any of their hits and only did their new album.
Yeah.
And nobody liked it, you know, because you go and see Paul McCartney, he's got to do some Beatles songs.
I know. Well, I remember years ago going to see Tanita Tikaram, and her big song was Twist in My Sobriety. She did the whole gig in a small venue for 100 people and didn't sing the song, and everybody was booing at the end, like, come on. That's all the only reason we came to see it, Tanita, I'm afraid.
So I think these are one of the facts of life that artists have got to just face, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but one of the things about, you know, Jason Donovan and Rick Astley, it's the actual session musicians that they hire to go on tour with them. Some of them, I know, I saw Kim Appleby, I saw Rick Astley, and I saw Jason Donovan, and the bands were all very good. They were playing the songs the way they were kind of designed for. You know, I've heard other artists kind of changing. It kind of gets into cabaret kind of thing, and I kind of said, I don't really want to hear "Better the Devil You Know" in that kind of cabaret way. I just want to hear it in the way it was done. Just get a bass guitar and a synthesizer and do it the way it's done. And then when they start fiddling with all that kind of, it kind of I don't know. It's not my cup of tea. It might be other people's, but
No, I totally understand.
Yeah.
I would hate it. See, I'm negotiating with us for me, Matt and Pete to do a Stock Aitken Waterman musical, and you know, the one thing I know, if it says that on the label, it better be in the tin.
Yeah.
That you go there, we're not going to mess around. We're going to give them the songs that people expect and in the way they expect them. Because people want to sing along. You can't sort of change the lyric or change the just to suit the musical. You know what I mean? It's a tricky one. But I appreciate what you're saying there, and I think a lot of artists, the way you talked about Morton Harkett, you know, with all due deference, it's the one song, and it was great. It was fantastic. So he needs to do it.
One artist I always was hoping that, you know, you would have teamed up with, and she ended up doing stuff with Pet Shop Boys. It was Liza Minnelli. I always thought, she had a couple of songs out, "Don't Drop Bombs" and stuff like that, and "Losing My Mind," I remember. And I always think that I always thought, when I heard "Losing My Mind," I thought, that must be Stock Aitken and Waterman. You know, I was listening to, and at that time you couldn't Google anything. You had to kind of go to the record shop, look at the record sleeve, and see who produced it. Then,
exactly.
But I always thought that she would have been an ideal kind of candidate to sing with you. But look,
it's funny that because Pet Shop Boys also did Dusty Springfield.
Yes.
And I thought we should have worked with Dusty.
Yeah, and I only want to be... Well, you did the Samantha Fox.
We did.
Yeah, I know. Well, listen, Mike, thanks for telling us about you being blocked. I didn't know that story before, and now I know what this song was all about. It makes a lot of sense now. Here's Roadblock from Stock Aitken and Waterman on our Stock Aitken and Waterman story. Dublin's Q102. Dublin's Q102, it's our Stock Aitken and Waterman story. Hope you're enjoying the documentary so far. And remember, if you want to get in touch with us on social media, you can go on to Q102 on Facebook, Instagram, share your thoughts about Stock Aitken and Waterman. You can always text us on 083 42 42 102, or you can also send us an email to studio@q102.ie. Now that brings us to an end of our Stock Aitken and Waterman special. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope wherever you are in the world you enjoyed it and that it brought back some special memories. You know, we listened to music to make us feel good, and Stock Aitken and Waterman Records ticked all the boxes when it came to feeling good. Thanks to Mike Stock for his insight and to Lar Wright for his production skills on this documentary. I wish every day was like Christmas. Goodbye.
Especially for you, I wanna let you know what I was going through. All the time we were apart, I thought of you. You were in my heart, my love never changed. I still feel the same.
Especially for you, I wanna tell you I was feeling that way too. And if dreams were wings, you know, I would have flown to you, to be where you are.
No matter how far, and now that I'm next to you,
No more dreaming about tomorrow. Forget the loneliness and the sorrow.
I'm gonna say it's all because of you. And now we're right together, together. I wanna show you my heart is so, so true. And all the love I have is especially for you. Especially for you, I wanna tell you you mean all the world to me.
How I'm certain that I